Good morning, you're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankur, Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. In next 1 hour, we'll bring you all the news that matters to you before opening of market. But it's a rainy morning in Mumbai, Kanishka. How about in Delhi? And more than that, we felt that there was some thunderstorm due to Trump's comment in America as well.
Absolutely, Ankur. A very good morning to you, first of all. It was a rainy morning in Delhi, in fact, indeed. But before that, let's take a look at how the US markets fared last week. Now, the stocks did decline on Friday, like as you mentioned, after President Trump raised trade fears again, warning Apple and recommending stiffer duties on European Union. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that fell more than 250%. That fell more than 250 points, whereas the S&P 500 that shed 0.67%, and the Nasdaq Composite that declined more, about 1% on Friday. Apple shares, they declined about 3% after Trump posted on Truth Social that iPhones that are sold in the US must be made in the US, and if they are not, a tariff of at least 25% would be imposed on them. Friday's decline also added to the weekly losses. The S&P 500, Dow and Nasdaq all lost more than 2% on week. Futures on Wall Street, however, have advanced after US President Donald Trump delayed the imposition of that 50% tariff on the European Union starting June 1st until July 9th. Now, the Dow futures gained as much as 320 points post the announcement, while futures on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq have risen 45 points and 200 points respectively, thereabouts. However, we must note that the markets in US are closed today on account of Memorial Day holiday.
Yes, definitely. But if you look at the Dow futures, they have actually gained around 0.5% after the news which has come in that there is a pause by President Trump on EU tariffs. However, if you look at the crude prices, they also extended gains after Trump's announcement on Truth Social. The Brent crude is hovering around $65, whereas if you see at WTI, it is just less than $62. Apart from that, if you see the whole week, last week, it was actually first week after April where you would see there is a decline in the crude prices. Why it happened? It happened because there is news that on Sunday there is a meeting which is going to be held by OPEC, and we expect that there is going to be increase in the output. Whereas if you see the gold prices, it is hovering around 3,340, down around 0.5%.
Alright, that's the prices as far as crude is concerned. But let's move on and take a look at the global cues that we are watching out for today. Well, as I mentioned earlier, US markets are going to be closed on account of Memorial Day. UK markets are also going to be closed on the back of Spring Bank holiday. Now, back home, the lock-in period ends for Paradeep Phosphates. In other events, we have the ECB President, Christine Lagarde, who's expected to speak later in the day. Apart from that, ASEAN Summit of International Leaders is due in Kuala Lumpur.
Right, among other headlines, the US President Donald Trump has delayed the imposition of the 50% tariff on the European Union, as me and Kanishka discussed earlier. Trump spoke about the delay on the Truth Social account a few minutes earlier after speaking to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Trump had threatened the imposition of 50% tariff on European Union starting June 1, as he believed that EU was being difficult and talks were going nowhere.
That's right. Now, shifting focus to Trump's tariff tirade. Now, Trump has renewed trade fears, threatening a 25% tariff on iPhones if they're not made in the US. Now, as he stepped up the pressure on Apple to build its signature product in the wiped off approximately $70 billion of Apple shares. In fact, Apple won't be alone. In remarks to reporters at the White House, Trump did say that he would also impose a 25% tariff on Samsung and any other phone maker that makes phones outside of the US, or as he said, it would not be fair. Let's go across and listen into that excerpt.
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on, I guess, at the end of June. It'll come out. I think we have that appropriately done by the end of June. So if they make that product. Now, again, when they build their plant here, there's no tariff. So they're going to be building plants here. But I had an understanding with Tim that he wouldn't be doing this. He said he's going to India to build plants. I said, that's okay to go to India, but you're not going to sell into here without tariffs. And that's the way it is.
Meanwhile, the iPhone maker has gone ahead and raised the amount of money people can get off their next iPhone in China by trading in their old device. Rolling out further incentives to spur demand in a crucial market, this initiative was done by Apple. There are also trade-in value increases across other models too. Remember, the latest offers comes as Apple's market share in China has shrunk to 13.7% in the March quarter from 15.6% a year ago.
All right, with that, it's time to take a very short breather on this edition of Market Cafe. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more news and updates on the other side.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankur, Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. But before we move ahead, let's also check how Asia Pacific market are behaving. There's a lot of data in Asia which is set to come this week. Japan will release April producer prices today. And apart from that, if you see Hong Kong, it is also set to release April data of trade. You can see Hang Seng is trading actually 0.5% down, and Nikkei, as you just saw, is trading 0.5% up. Apart from that, Shanghai market looks like a flat to positive start today. And South Korea Central Bank is also mulling to cut rates. You can see KOSPI, which is down, actually marginally down, flat to negative start from Shanghai. And similarly, if you talk about other markets, ASX 200 is again flat to negative. So mixed kind of a start you can see from Asian markets. And Nifty implied open is also indicating flat to positive start on the back of bumper dividend, which is coming from Reserve Bank of India to government of 2.69 lakh crore. So looks like, Kanishka, it is going to be a marginally positive start for Indian markets.
Well, absolutely, Ankur. Now let's watch out for that positive start, and also let's discuss that RBI dividend more in detail on the show later.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankur Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. Let's also talk about the fiscal bonanza which has been given to government by Reserve Bank of India. Yes, on Friday, Reserve Bank of India board decided to transfer 2.69 lakh crore to government. Now this is around 27% higher than the last record dividend of 2.1 lakh crore. But analysts are pegging that there is going to be a fiscal headroom for government after this announcement. SBI Research believes that the dividend transfer will help 20 bips to GDP as well. And as far as extra spending is concerned, there will be extra headroom of around rupees 70,000 crore. Why this kind of surplus transfer is made? The estimates say that RBI has dollar sales, forex gains as well as rising interest income, and therefore due to the boost in the balance sheet, this kind of record transfer was made to government. If you look at the ICRA view, they estimated that it is above 40 to 50,000 crore above the budget assumption, which was 2.56 lakh crore, and that also included other PSUs. Apart from that, fiscal deficit may be contained at 4.4% in the budget, and all in all, the analysis is that this is going to help government in improving the fiscal situation. It will also contribute to the GDP.
That's right. It indeed is RBI's fiscal bonanza. But let's move on and shift focus. Now, the next GST Council meet, that is expected to be held soon, and discussions on rate rationalization and compensation cess will be on the cards. Let's take a look at this report that Prakash filed for us earlier.
Yes, government sources are suggesting that the next GST Council meeting is going to be held very soon, in fact, by the end of June. In fact, the ministry has started working on the proposal. We're given to understand that the issues related to rate rationalization, rate simplification, and compensation assess will be discussed in the next meeting. That's an important development coming in as the GOM on rate rationalization has already submitted its report, and it is expected that the GST Council will discuss these issues in the next meeting. Along with that, when it comes to state of economy at this point of time, government sources are suggesting that there is no question about the India's growth trajectory. In fact, India's economic fundamentals are strong, and revenue growth will improve on the back of a better monsoon. That's an important development coming in on the issue of AGR dues. Sources are suggesting that the Telecom Ministry has not sent any such proposal regarding AGR dues against Vodafone Idea and Airtel.
Prakash, apart from that, big comments also coming in from government sources. The government has not received any proposal to increase defense allocation yet, but will consider if needed. Right now, the defense budget is sufficient. Prakash also filed this report earlier.
The government sources are suggesting that the defense budget is sufficient to meet any requirement, and in fact, there is no such proposal at this point of time to make higher allocation. But the government will consider any such proposal increasing a budget if it comes from the concerned ministry. However, Defence Acquisition Council has already provided emergency approval to make further procurement based on the Army's requirement. Along with that, when it comes to the issue related to providing further financial assistance to Pakistan by the IMF, sources are suggesting that this issue was raised with the IMF. In fact, IMF's own data shows that the arms purchase by Pakistan increased after every financial assistance provided by the IMF. And therefore, these issues were raised with the members countries as well, and the government of India is well prepared to put forward its viewpoint during FATF meeting slated for June. That's an important development coming in, that the government is planning to grill Pakistan at every forum. Along with that, when it comes to US government decision to impose tax on outward remittances, sources are indicating that, of course, there will be an impact of the US government decision, but an assessment will have to be made about the impact, and we'll have to see whether these issues could be included in the bilateral trade negotiations with the US.
All right, thank you, Prakash, for getting us all those details. Now, moving on, Vedanta Group has committed an additional investment of 30,000 crore rupees in the Northeast. Now, founder and chairman Arnil Agarwal says that this will take their total investments in the region to 80,000 crore, and he sees major potential for double-digit growth there. Sameer Dikshit caught up with him. Let's go across and listen in.
सर, इसके साथ ही नॉर्थ ईस्ट के साथ में बस एक दो सवाल और लेना चाहूँगा कि जैसे आपने कहा कि आप एक्सपेंशन की बात कर रहे हैं, आप आगे बढ़ने की बात कर रहे हैं, रेयर अर्थ मेटल पर भी मैं ये पिछले कुछ समय से देख रहा हूँ कि यू आर लुकिंग वेरी एग्रेसिव, आप उस दिशा में ग्रुप को आगे ले जाना चाहते हैं, थोड़ा स्ट्रेटेजी अगर आप शेयर करना चाहें।
हाँ, हम लोग बिलो द ग्राउंड समझते हैं बात को, क्योंकि हम लोग आज के दिन टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास सबसे एडवांस है। हम टोपोग्राफी करते हैं, हम जमीन के अंदर में बिना खोदे हुए भी पता लगा लेते हैं क्या चीज़ है वो। ये काम में ये डिफिकल्ट काम है, रेयर अर्थ है, क्रिटिकल मेटल है। ये बोलने में आसान है बट करने में बहुत मुश्किल का काम है, और इसमें मेरा दिल लगा हुआ है। और सबसे बड़ी बात हुई है कि पहले सहयोग नहीं मिलता था, बिल्कुल सहयोग नहीं मिलता था। अभी सहयोग इतना जबरदस्त मिल रहा है, अब उसको आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। हमारे साथ साथ हम बहुत आह्वान करेंगे, हमारे जितने भी एंटरप्रेन्योर हैं, हमारे स्टार्टअप हैं, वो भी ये टेक्नोलॉजी में आगे आवे, क्योंकि इज ऑल अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी। रेयर को निकालना, उसको सेपरेशन करना, ये बहुत मुश्किल काम है। दूसरा, चाइना ने पूरे का पूरा कैप्चर कर रखा है ये, और उससे वो रूल करना चाहता है दुनिया को। हिंदुस्तान में हमारे पास बेटर डिपॉजिट है, बट उसको एक्सप्लोर करना बहुत लोग चाहिए, आगे आने वाले प्राइवेट सेक्टर में चाहिए। लोगों को हिम्मत दिलाएं, लोगों को फंडिंग करें और आगे बढ़ेगा।
जैसे कॉपर ऊपर की हम बात करते हैं तो विजन या टारगेट क्या देख रहे हैं?
नो कॉपर तो मेरा हिंदुस्तान बहुत दिल दुखता है। कॉपर का डिपॉजिट हिंदुस्तान में सबसे बड़ा है, गोल्ड का डिपॉजिट सबसे बड़ा है, दोनों हम 100% इंपोर्ट करते हैं। हमारे पास हिंदुस्तान कॉपर है, उसके पास माइंस जो हैं वो राजस्थान में हैं, उनके पास माइंस हैं झारखंड बिहार में हैं, उनके पास माइंस हैं मलांचखंड में हैं, और बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं। लेकिन उसका नेतृत्व जो जैसे हमने हिंदुस्तान जिंक लिया, वो हिंदुस्तान कॉपर से बदतर हालत में था। आज वो वर्ल्ड का नंबर 1 प्रोड्यूसर हो गया है। हिंदुस्तान कॉपर भी नंबर का 1, और पूरे हिंदुस्तान की जितनी कॉपर की डिमांड है उसको भी पूरा कर सकता है, और बाहर में भी अच्छा नाम कर सकता है। हमारे गोल्ड की इतनी क्षमता है। आप बार बार ये बोलते हैं कि आप नई डिस्कवरी करके, नया एक्सप्लोरेशन करके नई माइन ले लीजिए। नई माइन को काम करने में 10 से 15 साल लगते हैं। ये जल्दी में काम नहीं हो पाता है, और थोड़ा जल्दी भी कर सकते हैं।
Thanks, Amir, for bringing in that exclusive conversation. And moving on, in what marks a significant shift in approach to Viksit Bharat concept, government think tank NITI Aayog is in the 10th Governance Council meeting deliberated on an approach paper titled Viksit Raj for Viksit Bharat at 2047. The meeting focused on how states can be building blocks to India's journey to becoming developed nation, and Sabyasachi reported this earlier.
The agenda of the meeting was very much clear that the development of the states, the development of the Rajya has to be the #1 agenda. If the states get developed, then the country will develop, and that was the key agenda of this meeting. Now, this was the 10th meeting that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was chairing. There were certain Chief Minister like Siddaramaiah, Karnataka Chief Minister, as well as Mamata Banerjee from West Bengal, who were not part of this NITI Aayog meeting. Now the government is very much clear on its agenda that they have to develop the states. In fact, all of these chief ministers as well as the LGs who were present in the meeting, a direction had been given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi that in state one particular tourist destination has to be developed for tourism purposes. That would bring a lot of economy to the state as well. So several other key aspects has been highlighted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in this important NITI Aayog meeting today.
All right, thank you, Sabyasachi, for all those details there. But moving on, let's get some weather updates. Now, the monsoon has arrived in Kerala 8 days ahead of its usual onset date of June 1st, marking the earliest arrival over the Indian mainland since 2009. Now, IMD has said monsoon has not only arrived in Kerala, but also in parts of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Mizoram, and also progressing rapidly and is expected to reach parts of Maharashtra as well. Now, the IMD has issued a red alert predicting heavy rainfall in the coastal districts of Maharashtra. As we mentioned earlier, we did have a rainy morning in Mumbai. But with that, it's time to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll bring you more news and updates on the other side.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankur, Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. Let's talk about NTPC, which has reported the earnings. You would have seen that there is an increase in bottom line by 23% YOY to 7,611 crore from 6,168 crore in the last year same period. But more importantly, there was a dip in margins, which markets may not like. EBITDA margin stood at 29.6% compared to 29.8%. There was also a dividend announcement by the company of rupees 3.35 per share. And there were also interim dividends already announced in the year of 2.5 rupees each earlier. But all in all, mixed set of numbers. There is a beat in margin which is down 21 bips YOY, which markets may have to see.
That's right. On to another earnings counter then. It was a mixed set of numbers for JSW Steel as well for Q4. Now, revenue was aided by volumes that rose about 8% on a consolidated sequential basis. Meanwhile, margins missed the mark in the quarter gone by. Ashesha is joining us to do all the number crunching.
Well, yes, JSW Steel has reported mixed set of numbers in the quarter gone by, but as you mentioned, volume growth was very strong. In fact, standalone volumes rose by about 3% on a sequential basis, and that aided revenue growth in the quarter gone by. Consolidated revenue has come in at 44,800 crores, which is an uptick of a solid 8% on a sequential basis, but margins have come in a tad bit below what the street was working with. They've come in at 14.2% versus ET Now poll of about 14.8%. But remember, standalone spreads have also risen on a sequential basis on account of efficiencies and lower coking coal costs in the quarter gone by. So standalone EBITDA per ton has come in at 8,800 rupees per ton, which is an uptick of a solid 12% on a sequential basis, and net debt has also declined by about 5% sequentially. So all in all, numbers look good. No major complaints as such. Volume growth was very strong. Management outlook continues to remain very positive, and spreads have also expanded on a sequential basis. But remember, management has given some important commentary with respect to Bhushan Power's acquisition and the recent Supreme Court judgment, where they say that they will be resorting to all legal remedies that the company has in order to ensure that they get the rightful decision going forward. But for now, a mixed set of numbers coming in for JSW Steel, no major negatives, and volume growth and EBITDA margin expansion has been a key positive this time around.
Thanks, Ashesha, for that detail. Now, after JSW Steel and NTPC, which are the stocks you need to watch? We have Ravinder to tell us which are stocks in news.
Well, yes, NTPC can be in focus where company has announced its Q4 number, and company reported revenue at rupees 49,834 crore, which was up by 4.5% year-on-year basis. And if we talk about net profit, then net profit also saw a good uptick of 24% year-on-year basis. Moving to next, ABFRL Aditya Birla Fashion Real Estate is can be in focus where company reported revenue at rupees 1,719 crore. We saw an uptick of more than 9% year-on-year basis, and company reported net loss as 17 crore as compared to loss of 230 crore year-on-year basis. Moving to next, Narayana Rudralaya can be in focus where company reports as a Q4 number, and the company's Q4 revenue saw an uptick of 18.5% year-on-year basis at rupees 1475 crore, and EBITDA also saw a good uptick of 22% year-on-year basis. And Glenmark Pharma can be in focus on back of Q4 earning where company's revenue saw an uptick of more than 6% year-on-year basis, and company reported a profit at rupees 4.6 crore as compared to loss of 1,242 crore year-on-year basis. Apart from this, the Bharti Airtel can be in focus where Supreme Court dismissed Bharti Telemedia appeals, and total estimated exposure pursuant to the judgment is rupees 585 crore, which is fully provisioned in the books, and which is 575 crore, which has company already paid by Bharti Media Telemedia Limited. Apart from this, Paytm can be in focus where Supreme Court has stayed GST demand order of rupees 5,712 crore on First Game Technology Private Limited, which is a subsidiary company of Paytm. Havells can be in focus where company to further enhance its annual manufacturing capabilities of cables at Alwar location by 0.25 lakh kilometer with an additional investment of 340 crore. So back of this, Havells can be in focus. Now looking into some pharma stocks, then Divi's Lab can be in focus where company has signed a long-term manufacturing and supply agreement with global pharma company. Dr. Reddy can be in focus where US FDA has completed a GMP inspection at API manufacturing facility in Telangana, and US FDA issued a form for 483 with 2 observations. Zydus Lawson can be in focus where Zydus receives final approval from US FDA for one of its capsule, and capsule has an annual sales of USD 15.4 million in the United States. And lastly, Biocon can be in focus where Biocon Biologics has received MHRA UK approval for US intake.
Right, thank you, Ravinder, for getting us all the stocks that are expected to be in focus today on the back of news flow and earnings. Now let's move on. SME IPO rush seems to be back in the market, with 5 companies slated to launch their public issues this week. But should investors subscribe or be aware of some of the risks involved? Sharad is joining us to help us with all those details. Over to you, Sharad. Good morning.
Well, 5 important SMEs are coming out for IPO this week, and the first one is Blue Water Logistics. The banker is Smart Horizon Capital Advisors. There are certain concerns regarding this issue. First one is a large revenue concentration just coming from ocean freight services, which the industry itself is volatile, seeing the current global macro scenario. The promoter entities are also in line on the same business, and the outstanding trade receivables are on the higher side, as well as debt concerns are there for the company. Astonia Labs, the second company where the banker is OneView Corporate Advisors, concerns include non-US FDA approval of their OTC drugs and also delayed filing coming in for RSE. Now, of course, this is a trading company, as 90% of revenues coming from this segment. It's largely having lesser margins and higher levels of inventory as well. Interestingly, Nikita Papers, this is the third SME IPO which will be opening on Tuesday. The banker is Fast Track FinSec, and concerns include an operations in a cyclical industry, which is the paper industry. The craft paper prices also over the last 1 year have been down, and also the company is suffering from negative operating cash flows. The revenue has seen a degrowth in last 2 years, and the debt level is high at almost 150 crores as on December 2024. Neptune Petrochemical, their IPO opens on May 28. Banker is Beeline Capital Advisors. The concerns include a long gestation period industry such as road infra and activities, and the upcoming monsoon season is a seasonally low quarter for their business. The valuations are expensive, and 84% of the revenue just comes from trading. That means there isn't much moat or margins impact in the business. And the last SME IPO is NR Vandana Tex Industries. Banker is Marwadi Chandrana Intermediaries. Concerns include low pricing power. There has been a massive surge in working capital days. Almost it has tripled. Inventory is up 87% in 2 days. 3 consecutive years of negative operating cash flows. And lastly, it's highly leveraged. Net debt equity ratio is at 2.32 times. So these are the 5 SME IPOs which will be opening this week, and these are the concerns related to them.
Thanks, Sharad, for those details. But I want to also bring attention towards the market. It is raining outside, green all around. Kanishka, there is also now uptick in Nifty implied open. When we started the show, it was around 30 points premium. Now it is showing 60 to 61 points. So yes, the rains are also making the market greener. It looks like the impact is there. But let's move on. Vikas Khemani, founder, Carnelian Asset Management, shares a list of sectors he is positive on, and listen into what he had to say on the market.
All these 3 things about US economy you've been talking about, have not surfaced with the rating downgrade. It's been around for more than, 1.5, 2 years, I know. I mean, US debt, deficit, or for that matter, in delinquency in their credit card has been around for 2 years. So I think, very often we tend to call these, situations, but fact of the matter is nobody knows what time US economy will get into recession, what kind of it will peak out. So I think, and generally speaking, IT sector, in my opinion, is not, we've seen IT sector has been reasonably all right, growing well in last 3-4 years. And these kind of intermittent cycles come in any sort of industry. We are not very negative on IT sector. We've been saying for quite some time and continue to remain positive, because IT is not only necessarily linked to economic growth, because a lot of digital transformation has to happen, the cost rationalization has to happen, and IT is a key enabler of that. So I think there are many more levers other than only the economic growth. A lot of times companies have to spend money in order to just survive, forget about grow. So I think and some of the sectors which are in the manufacturing front, where India is exposed, not much exposed to US, there India tends to benefit from the market share gain, which is happening because of China plus shift. And that I think can compensate for if economy slows down. Currently, there's no such sign, but if that slows down, and market share gain can compensate for that. So I don't see US economy slowing down as a major risk to Indian economic growth. Market sentiments can go up and down depending on how the news flow comes, but I don't see major economic risk if US were to slow down to India.
So that brings me to the follow-up question. You did say that there are a lot of other manufacturing themes also that one can watch out for, given the fact that you will have the China Plus One strategy also at play that could benefit some of them. So which are some of those sectors that one should watch out for very closely, given the fact that we are actually trying to get some sort of strength back home in those sectors?
Sector broadly remains same. We've been quite positive on banking and financial services. We've been positive on manufacturing. We've been positive on the entire pharmaceutical space. So in general, I think, we've been very positive on the spaces which are aligned to Indian economy. And generally, that's what is kind of happening. So sectors and economy really don't change very often, because India is in a very structural transformative growth cycle. And this is going to last for long. So the only thing is that which will grow faster. So at this point in time, we are significantly overweight in banking and manufacturing, I said. And and there are sort of sectors within consumption you pick up. There are stocks within the consumption you pick up. There are stocks, excuse me, in the IT sector, in the mid and small cap space, which are doing well. So I think it boils down to, so these are some of the sort of areas of exposure that we do have.
All right. Hi, Vikas. Good morning. Shrishti this side. And Vikas, I think that after your visit to Omaha, where you did visit the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting, we are connecting now on the channel. Give us some sense that what has been the major key takeaway, because this shareholder meeting was indeed a special one, because from next year on, you might not see Warren Buffett taking the center stage.
I don't know that whether next year he will be there or not. He's still chairman. So you will learn a lot from the legend, and we all know that he's a legend. So, and I think all the learnings are definitely around. He's been very, very big believer of long-term investing, compounding, associating which stands out with associating with good quality people, whether it is, as an employer or whether it is a partner. I think that he has been espousing for a very, very long time. So I think quality of people you associate with is very, very important. It stands out in every interaction. So there are lots of, takeaways one can take from when you meet, Oracle of Omaha. He's a legend, right? And plus how, disciplined he could be, even if despite having so much cash on the books, how he's been and how he's transitioning to the next level of leadership. The moment he realized that he's kind of slowing down in his decision making, he's very happily to kind of letting it go. So these are some of the quality you admire him as a person, you admire him as an investor, you admire him as a leader. So there are lots to learn. I mean, one can probably do an hour show on that.
Certainly, but Vikas, what sort of a sentiment that you are picking up when it comes to the foreign institutional investors, especially for India? Because of late we have seen the FIs making a strong comeback, especially in the cash segment. Do you believe they are here to stay after what's been happening in the globe across?
FI flows are going to be very robust. The moment Indian Fed rate starts coming down, whether it comes in 3-6 months, it will find a next level of acceleration. But anyway, dollar index itself has kind of paved the way for flows towards emerging markets. And so I am very, very optimistic and positive of foreign flows towards India in particular, emerging market in general. And today, the foreigners' weight towards India is, about 1.6, 1.7%. Even if they were to become equal weight, a very large amount of money will come, which could be $1 trillion plus over the next 8-10 years. So I think I'm very, very positive about that flow, and I don't have any doubt. I don't think foreigners are thinking negative about India. It is just their asset allocation or country allocation which changes, and which I think has started already moving, and it will only accelerate in times to come.
Okay, now we're approaching the end of the earnings season, and before this last when we interacted with you, you expected this earnings season to be soft, and that's what the large broader consensus was also on the expectation of the earnings season. But it's not been all that bad, and you have certain sectors that have surprised. After these earnings that we have seen, have you recalibrated strategy anywhere? Any changes to the portfolio? Anywhere where you were overweight and you've turned underweight, or the other way around? What's the strategy, and how are you approaching the portfolio now?
Earnings season has been all right. It's kind of, and we've been quite, I don't know, we've been ever negative about earnings season. We said there might be some uncertainty on the segments, likes of, manufacturing and all, because of this tariff thing in Q1. But not, in Q4 of last year. I think that we were quite positive. Q1 can be a little bit depending on, which sector and which segment you are in. But in general, we are quite positive. I think we've been saying that because of the liquidity improvement in the system as compared to last year, from minus 3.5 lakh crore deficit to 1,40,000 or 50,000 crores of surplus, will have a huge impact on the corporate earning growth. Interest rates coming down will add a lot. So generally speaking, I think FY26 corporate earnings, in my opinion, will be better than the market expectations. A lot of downgrades happened in last year. I do think that you will start seeing upgrades from the Q2 onwards. Q1 still I would watch out, because I don't know what impacts have happened on the shipments and stuff like that. Sectors like banking and all might do well in Q1. But in general, I would say one should be careful. But FY26, I'm very, very positive, and I think there will be upward revisions.
Right. Let me get your view actually on the entire theme when you talk about the power theme, the renewable energy theme. Good numbers also have come in some of these listed counters as well, which are there into the equipment manufacturing, solar equipment manufacturing as well. Is that a theme that you're looking at right now, Vikas, or are you re-looking at that theme?
We've been invested into more conventional energy than really or energy enablers. India is definitely staring at a shortage of power. Given our growth globally, there's a reinvestment happening in the entire energy space, energy transition. So it's an interesting play. I think only thing I would say is sectors like renewable and all, there's a lot of overvaluation has happened. So one has to be very careful about risk reward before investing. In general, directionally we are positive on the sector.
6 months back, we used to talk about some of these themes within the renewable basket that you just highlighted. Even EVs was a theme that was one of the discussion points, even data center to add to that list. Given what's really been happening in the markets, do you believe that any opportunity in any such long-term growth pockets, where do you believe that the valuations have now turned reasonable, or you still believe that the valuations are a bit frothy?
We have never believed that, broadly, see, valuations plus minus 15% can go anytime depending on the markets. But I think valuations are in a reasonable space, both for the markets, some broader markets, some mid and small cap space, some specific sectors. There was euphoria. I think exuberance got built, euphoria got built. One has to be careful of those segments and spaces. It's irrespective. But I think the recent corrections have allowed to clear that excesses. And, quite a bit is, in market in general has come into a good range. And that's the reason you are seeing now market finding value, buying at a lower level, and markets have come back. I don't think India will get cheap anytime, sooner. So because of the growth nature and the interest rates coming down. So it's a futile exercise to, keep waiting for the valuations to come down. At the same time, it is very sensible to keep avoiding euphoria-driven sector, narrative-driven sector. One has to stick to fundamentals. I don't think I want to buy a stock cheaper, which has good growth. It will not be available. So I think, constantly you have to keep looking for good growth stories, which India is all about.
All right, that's the expert view coming in on the current market setup. But let's move on and take a look at some more news. Now, US President Donald Trump has intensified his criticism for Harvard in a Truth Social post. Trump asserted that nearly 31% of Harvard students come from other countries, and the university administration has not provided details about these students despite repeated requests from his administration. The next parliamentary polls in Bangladesh are expected to take place by June 30 next year. After a weekend of coup plan mystery, Chief Advisor of Muhammad Yunus says he won't stay a day beyond the poll deadline of June 30. A Liberian vessel carrying 640 containers, including 13 with hazardous cargo, sank off the Kochi coast on Sunday, sparking fears of a possible oil spill. All 24 crew members were rescued after the ship developed a critical tilt on Saturday.
Moving on, India will begin free trade agreement with Chile today in New Delhi. Earlier, the two sides reaffirmed their aim to strengthen bilateral ties and are looking forward to productive discussions. During the first round of talks, these discussions were held. Apart from that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch projects worth rupees 77,400 crore in Gujarat during two-day visit to home state that begins today. According to a statement, Mr. Modi will inaugurate a locomotive manufacturing plant and flag off an electric locomotive from Dahod. He will then travel to Bhuj and launch multiple development projects worth over rupees 53,400 crore. And in IPL, Punjab Kings is all set to lock horns with Mumbai Indians today at Jaipur Savai Mansingh Stadium. Currently, Punjab Kings have 17 points on the table and Mumbai Indians have 16. So whichever side wins will secure second place in IPL, which is important in terms of getting one more chance in playing final. However, their final standings will depend on the result of Royal Challengers Bengaluru versus Lucknow Super Giants match. With this, it's time for a wrap in this edition of Market Cafe, but don't go away, watch the market next.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.